How else could we collect together the various modes into sensible groups? Well, one other way is known as looking at the parallel modes. Parallel modes. And parallel modes are very straightforward. They are the group of modes that can be built on a particular starting note. So just the same way as we were looking at the relative modes, which is a group of modes that use the same set of pitches, the parallel modes is a set of modes that uses the same starting note. So what would that look like exactly? Well, let's think of our different modes that we can have. We've got our major scale or Ionian mode. Ionian. That's one mode we can have. We've got the Dorian. Next comes the Phrygian. After that, the Lydian. Mixolydian. Aeolian. And Locrian. And so the parallel modes would be all of the different modes that share the same starting note, and that's the way we name these modes as well. So let's use a different note. We always use C, we're not going to use C now, we're going to use G. And so the set of parallel modes contains G major, or G Ionian of course, and it also contains G Dorian, and G Phrygian, G Lydian, G Mixolydian, G Aeolian, and G Locrian. So that's quite different to the relative modes. Here we're just focusing on the modes that begin with a particular note. Now if we use what we learned about transposing modes, actually finding all of these modes should be relatively straightforward, because we know that we can find any mode that we want as long as we know something about major scales and where these notes fit in. You'll remember that obviously the G major scale is the mode that you get if you play this G major starting on the first note. The G Dorian will be the scale that you get if you play the major scale where G is the second note of that scale. So do you know what that is? Do you know what major scale has G as its second note? Well, the answer is F. So here's F. And so just to recap, we will get our G major scale if we start on G and play the pattern of notes that we know to be G major. We'll get our G Dorian scale if we play an F major scale but start on a G. And so F major scale has a B flat, that's the only black note it has. And so if we start on this G, we go up, we use the B flat. If we move on to this G Phrygian scale, we have to ask ourselves the question, which major scale has G as its third note? Any ideas of what that might be? Well, the answer to that is E flat. Remember, we actually looked at it in the last video on relative modes. E flat scale, the E flat major scale looks like this. And so the third note there is a G, and if we remember that the E flat major scale has an E flat, an A flat and a B flat, we can build our G Phrygian scale by including the E flat, the A flat and the B flat, but starting on a G. Moving on to the Lydian mode. The Lydian mode has that special relationship that as long as we know the major scale that has G as its fourth scale degree, we'll be able to use that major scale to build the Lydian mode. So if we do that here, we're looking for a major scale that has G as its fourth note. You'll notice a pattern emerging here possibly, and the answer is D. So D major has G as its fourth note. I can show you that. There you go, there's our G. So to build a G Lydian scale, what we're going to look to do is start our scale on D, but make use of the accidentals, the black notes, that we get from the D major scale. And D major has F sharp and C sharp, so we're going to add in an F sharp and a C sharp to our scale. And that gives us a G Lydian mode. And if we carry on this pattern, which scale has G as its 5th scale degree. Well, of course, that's C major. And in fact, this was the scale, if you remember G mixed Lydian, that was the most basic form of a mixed Lydian scale because it just uses white notes, and that makes a lot of sense here because we've worked out that our connected major scale is C major, and that's the one that has only white notes, and so we'd expect the G mixed Lydian scale to only have white notes. So that is very good. And so moving forward, we look at this next one, ask ourselves the question, which major scale has G as its 6th scale degree? This one's a little bit more tricky. The answer is B flat major. It wouldn't be B major because B major has G sharps in it. If you look at B, this is B. That's a G sharp, so that wouldn't be the sort of connected major scale. B flat, on the other hand, does have that G, and so that's the connected major scale to the G Aeolian mode. And so if we were to look at B flat major has B flat and E flat. So to use those accidentals when starting on G, that will give us our G Aeolian mode. And to finish off, we have to work out which scale has G as its 7th scale degree. I'm kind of running out of space here at the bottom, but 7th scale degree. Which scale is that? Well, the answer is A flat. Let's try and write that in there. Whoops, run out of space. A flat is the kind of connected major scale to this G Locrian mode, because we're asking ourselves the question, it's the same as all the other ones, which major scale has G as its 7th scale degree? And the answer there is A flat, because A flat looks like this. There's the 7th scale degree, that's our G. And so if we were to take those accidentals, A flat has quite a few, has A flat, B flat, E flat and D flat. And so to add all those together, use all of those while starting on a G, what we'll get is our G Locrian. Looks like that. So this is the idea of parallel modes. Parallel modes are the group of modes that all start on the same letter name. We could build a set of parallel modes starting on the note of B flat, and in that case we'd be looking at connecting together B flat major, B flat Dorian, B flat Phrygian, B flat Lydian, B flat mixed Lydian, B flat Aeolian, and B flat Locrian. And why is that useful? Well, it's going to become very, very useful when we start to be a bit more creative about improvising and composing, because it gives us access to a very wide range of options in terms of scale colours that we could use in our music.